Good morning. It is 8:30 in some seconds. Welcome to Wednesday, June 10th, 2015, episode 3. They said it would never happen, but it did. I'm here. I'm back. Okay, so I'm going to kick off with the very first thing being a customer question. Well, I should say an audience question. Okay, so let me, excuse me. I get all choked up when you guys ask questions because it's just so sweet of you. So, alrighty then. It's been a morning. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and screen share. I'm starting to totally get the hang of this stuff, and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And I want to start with we'll head over to the live broadcast. And we will see the question. Okay, in my first podcast, I talked about, or my first broadcast, I should say, my first live broadcast on Monday, I talked about Rainmaker versus the previous affiliations, and she'd like to hear more. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's one of his customers, so that's a plant as far as a question. And to be honest, I did try and plant a question with Anna, but mine that I tried to inception into her brain was about telling stories. However, as you can see, Anna completely ignored my advice, completely went off script, and asked this question. So I'm going to go ahead and answer the question, Anna. I'm going to give you some more. What did you want? Oh, you just want to hear more. What's that even mean? You're being all, unspecific first thing in the morning. This is just unfair to me. No, I'm kidding, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously. I'm really, really sarcastic. So if that doesn't, if that's not your cup of tea, then you're going to want to leave. So let's start with real quick. Let's talk about, I spent 7 years finding a solution that I was going to cobble together for my clients. And it largely, as soon as Synthesis by Copyblogger Media came out, I immediately jumped on them. Well, I should say I can't say immediately. It's probably a month or two, but very early in their existence, I jumped right on them because I knew these guys from Scribe Content and so forth. So I was really comfortable with the company, with the people that I had interacted with behind the company, the little bit that I the story that I kind of cobbled together on my own about the founders of Copyblogger Media. So for me, all of that is really important. Yes, you do have to deliver a fast product. It needs to be secure. As far when we're talking specifically with hosting my business website, that's all important. But I want to be in business with people that I trust, with people that have, a similar outlook. My goal is to, obviously, I mentioned the 160 grand in debt. I'm planning to get that taken care of ASAP and then build as big of a, basically I view that as underground, right? So that debt I got to fill in, right? And then I'll be back at a level, ground level, I should say, not at a level, but at ground level. So once I'm at ground level, then my goal is foundation is strong. I'm going to build the biggest, tallest, most awesome thing that I can possibly build. And the way that that's going to happen is by helping other people. Yes, it's selfish as all get out because, I want to do well for me and I want to do well for my family and for my mom and for my grandparents and all this, that's the rationale. That's where the intent that I have comes from. That's where it originates. So yeah, I know he's getting all philosophical talking about hosting, but that's why I chose Synthesis. And then when Rainmaker platform came out, which I'll head over, and this isn't a commercial for Rainmaker, don't freak out, lose your stuff, but you'll see that there's all these people that have spoken very highly about Rainmaker platform, and they all tell their stories, and a lot of them are really long, right? And then there's some of us that are not as long. So I wanted to show you mine. So learn from my mistakes. Start with Rainmaker platform, period. I like being succinct. I like being concise. Everyone else wants to talk and talk and talk. And I'm not knocking anybody, they told their stories. on this testimonial page. So I'm obviously not knocking any of them at all in the least. I mean, I'm big fans of pretty much everyone that I've run into in the authority forums or in Showrunner, the private Facebook group for the Showrunner course, or on social media around their different subjects, etc. But just for me, one of the things that really, I dealt with a lot of analysis paralysis. I think that, yeah, that's right. Analysis paralysis, because I had no clue where to start, and I had no context to put it into, or, I knew nothing. I used to team debate when I was in high school. And one of the things that we always talked about was tabula rasa, TABULA RAZA, I'm pretty sure, but tabula rasa, which I guess I can Google that for you, huh? Tabula rasa. Latin phrase, blank slate. That's how we always explained it, was that, when you went into a team debate round, you could be for or against the resolution. And so you had to be prepared either way. So the point being with tabula rasa was you had to be a blank slate when you went in, and you expected the judge who determined who won or lost, which team won or lost, they were supposed to be tabula rasa as well. So no preconceived notions, because if and this is a horrible example, but hopefully it'll illustrate my point. If you are firmly against, if you're firmly against abortion, in the quote-unquote debate, team debate, which we never debated abortion, so this isn't an actual example for you to come after me with pitchforks about. But if in the debate that you were judging, let's say you were a judge, you couldn't bring in the fact that you thought it was wrong. So because if you did, if someone's for and someone's against, the two teams, one is for and one is against this resolution or whatever, or against abortion, and they're making their case using evidence and so forth, you have to judge the evidence that's in play. Did they make the case for it? Then you would, that's the team that you vote for, even though in your heart you're completely against it. That's kind of the essence or the thought process behind tabula rasa. So when I walked in, where was I? When I walked into looking for hosting and all, I was completely lost. Build a website, I need to do e-commerce, and I need to do this, and everybody wants to give me or sell me a website that is, super duper designed, and but everything that they're talking about was, and what I realized very quickly was, everyone wanted to help me build the website or whatever, and then they wanted to wash their hands of me immediately because that was where it ended. When in reality, that was the beginning of my business online. It was, so the point being, I went through a ton of options. I tried HostGator, I tried WestHost, I tried WP Engine, I tried these different ones. I poked around into Flywheel when it came out. And not to knock any of them, they just were not the perfect solution for me. And I can't say Synthesis was 100% perfect, but I can say that they were probably 99.5% perfect because these people cared and they made that relevant to me. You hear him on, he's a Rainmaker VP now, Jared Morris, who run one of the showrunners, and he co-hosts The Lead, both of which are on the, if you go over to rainmaker.fm, you'll see, he is one of the two showrunners, and he is also co-host of The Lead, and he's the guy on the left, Jared Morris. But anyway, I first interacted with Jared Morris when he was doing support for Synthesis. He answered questions for me, and he was super awesome. He was just as awesome then as, in private email as he is now, live in front of, hundreds or thousands, or probably knowing him, a couple hundreds of thousands of people every show. Now, I doubt it's really that size yet, but I guarantee it's on its way. Okay, so back to the actual question, which she just wanted to know more. So I guess that I am kind of answering the question, even though I always feel like I'm completely skirting questions, even though I'm pretty good about answering them. So, little mind of Jason moment there. You're welcome for that. I'm not even going to charge you. Although I will send you an invoice, so you can write it off on your taxes. Okay, so I went with Synthesis, and they were fantastic. And I mean, they're not cheap. Like, don't hope they're not cheap. They're not selling you cheap. Do not consider it, but they're well worth it, right? For me, all of a sudden, when I got on Synthesis, and once I kind of got, my sea legs on Synthesis, from that point on, I never worried about hosting again for me, ever. That's a huge, that's just a gargantuan weight off of me. And see, when I walked in, I had nothing that I could get off of my plate. So I had to figure out about hosting. I had to figure out about domain names. Which was thankfully a relatively short lesson, even though I tried to make it more complicated than it was. And then I started looking for ways to, build my website, which finally I was kind of lucky because I did get to WordPress relatively early, but not that early. I built multiple websites with HTML templates that I used that were, pretty brutal, right? And that I had no control over anything. Like, you put it up, you fill out and from there, like, you're going to have to write code to make changes. With WordPress, that was out the window. But if you really wanted to take control of your website, and which I was always so focused on, even though I shouldn't have been, I should have been focused on just growing my audience, getting as many, which is what I'm focused on now. However, I wasn't focused on the right thing for my business. So I wasted a ton of time over those years. And I got good at CSS. I got good at, well, I say good. I got okay at, building Genesis child themes. I did about 18 months kind of part-time working with, Cobalt Apps, Eric Ham, to his social, his social media, just some kind of marketing while he was having his third child, kind of, three young children. He had a lot on his plate. So I'd been a long time customer, and I was a big fan. So, it was really easy for me to, volunteer. And thankfully he was kind enough to allow me to kind of help him through. And then, but my point being, I learned a lot of code there. I learned a lot by watching him as far as code and just the basics of dealing with the online, like becoming comfortable with a business online, becoming comfortable with the internet as, the primary medium, the primary, delivery system, so to speak, of your customers. And just understanding, like, one of the biggest things that Eric ever taught me, and it was totally throwaway, but one thing that he told me was, when we rolled out one of his new designs for his website, which we had redone marketing and so forth, one of the issues was I had not minimized the images. So they were really big files, and which made them load very slowly when people tried to pull them up in their browser, which he was kind enough, him and Seth, actually his buddy Seth, had taken a peek and was like, did you notice that these images are like, 50 megabytes? And so he came to me and we fixed it, obviously. But that was a really good lesson. And I've used that with every single customer that I've worked with since. So, but back to the actual question, I guess, or back to kind of the story about, there has to be a point, right? Well, there is. I wasted so much time with, plugins. Let me show you something. Okay, if you go to WordPress.org, and honestly, this is a selling point for a lot of WordPress people, which it kind of is and it kind of isn't for me, which is, if you go to plugins, there are 38,231 plugins. That's a lot of plugins. Those are, the way it works is, let's call it the trunk of the tree, the core is WordPress. And then if you want additional, functionality, like you need a limb here to hang a swing off of, a tire swing or whatever, you're going to go get a plugin that puts a limb there that is strong enough to handle, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different options, but no one wants to really focus on one solution. So, you know, and I touched on it when I was talking about affiliates, and, you know, somebody's going to go back and read it or see it and, you know, oh, he's bashing all the, you know, Chris Lema and all these guys. I'm not. I'm a big fan of Chris Lema. I think that he knows what he's talking about. I think he's super ethical. I think he helps people. I think he genuinely cares about his tribe of other, you know, WordPress people. I wholeheartedly believe that. However, what I do differently, and it was partly to kind of set myself apart, kind of, you know, positioning, so to speak, with Chris. So I'll be honest. And I learned it because I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? He is an affiliate of SiteGround and or Rainmaker and or WP Engine and or Pagely, etc. Right? Which is great. And he has a large audience, so I'm sure that those are the right solutions for different parts of his audience. But for me, the biggest thing that I wanted with WordPress was to get out of WordPress, right? Get my site up, it just, and forget about it. Set it and forget the site, because the whole point behind it is to build my business, right? I need to focus on building my audience. I have to figure out, you know, how to get them, you know, converted. I have to obviously answer their questions and, you know, any engagement and so forth. And I want all of this to occur not on someone else's property like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. I want the majority of my interactions, my really important interactions, one-to-one with people that are wanting to learn more about me on my website, on my you know, ground that I own, so to speak. And you know, if you don't know, just Google Copyblogger and sharecropping, and you'll read Sonia Simon has broken it down a couple of different times as far as why sharecropping is so bad. So all right, so, and I'm not knocking WordPress, okay, let me be very clear. One thing that I will throw out, one of the guys behind this, the plugins now, and for a while, like years, I guess, Pippin Williamson. And Pippin, most of his, well, really all of his WordPress plugin solutions aren't compatible with Rainmaker because it's a closed system, right? Closed platform. So they make decisions on what's going to be included and what's not, and I'm happy with that arrangement. However, I will say, if you're not going to do Rainmaker, you're going to do WordPress, and you want to tell stories like I'm getting into and my free course is going to walk you through and all that, you start with Pippin. Just go to Pippin, get Restrict Content Pro, get Affiliate WP, and get Easy Digital Downloads. Trust me, you won't go wrong with anything that him or anyone on his team is involved with. And I know, like, he does a partnership with Sumobi, Andrew Munro, I think it is, as far as for Affiliate WP. So that's my shill for Pippin because I'm a big fan. Like, I'll get done. I'm going to have to get into Pippin at some point because I can tell a really cool story about Pippin. He's like 3 years old, and, you know, he just completely blows my mind repeatedly. It's over years and years and years, first as his customer and then just as his, you know, groupie, I guess, to a degree. I mean, not, you know, don't take all the connotations of groupie, but I've been a big fan for a long time. So, and those are the people, like, even though my solution's incompatible, unfortunately, at this point with Pippin stuff, you know, I'm a big, big fan. And because I know for a fact that, you know, he has integrity. It matters to him how all of his customers, how all of his people, how all of any stakeholder of his business, it matters. So, and to me, that's worth something. That actually, you know, that makes a difference. That's a reason that I, you know, decide to work with someone. Just like with, you know, I've been getting a little flack, and I'm going to get more. Like, I have no problem with it, about being a very vocal affiliate of one thing, which is basically Copyblogger Media and their different solutions. They're DIY, they're disparate DIY solutions. You know, Web Synthesis for hosting, and then the Studio Press for your child thing, you know, Genesis Framework, and, you know, then Genesis child themes to put together your website, etc., etc. Rainmaker, obviously, I'm also a value-added reseller. Anytime that I teach you to tell stories, we only use Rainmaker. So, Okay, so I've digressed enough. Let me see if I can pull it back in, and let's get back to something that's actually helpful for you. Okay, so and that's what I wanted to focus on. The first one was basically, profit and education. That was live broadcast one, was just, hey, profit and education. Number two was intent, and number three is quick win. What's a quick win? Well, I'm going to see if I can give you a couple quick wins in these last 10 minutes, because I've waxed poetic for 20 minutes about pretty much nothing. Well, not nothing. I mean, I'm my own biggest critic. So, okay. So, we don't need to be in here right now. Oh, let me take you over. I just want to point out something. When you get started, you're going to be pouring your heart into it. Like I'm pouring my heart into everything that I'm doing and setting up, and all of the podcasts that I'm putting out and all of the live broadcasts, and I'm doing 4 of them a week, and I'm doing 5 audio podcasts a week, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. And I'm doing 4 video podcasts a week, Monday through Friday by 3 p.m. Or I'm sorry, Monday through Thursday by 3 p.m. And then I'm doing the 4 live broadcasts Monday through Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then but my point is, I'm putting a ton of work in. Now, I want to show you here, I don't have big numbers. If this is my Rainmaker dashboard, which is awesome because I can go to one place and get a pretty good idea, kind of take the pulse, so to speak, vital signs of my business from one spot. I go log in to the back end. I know that I'm logged in because it greets me, and because I get this blue admin bar. But you can see, like, I had 19 podcast downloads yesterday, and I finally got my whatchamacallit into iTunes, which I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a second. And then we're going to share again because I want to show you in iTunes proper, my actual iTunes thing, which I think I had it open. Yep. Okay, so I just want to show you real quick that it did get in. So here's Swapping Stories, and that's me and Grandma and Gramps. And the Swapping Stories moniker came from when I was caring for Grandma and Gramps. So we swapped a ton of different stories, and I learned so much from those two. And they're just a big part of my part of me. So even though they've been gone for years, but I finally got it in, and I have my sound engineer, Chris Wright Media. He has taken care of them. So next Monday is when the Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. all the audios will keep coming. Now, currently these are the old version, but with me, I would rather you see the unpolished version rather than see nothing, because as soon as it gets polished, I'm going to replace it with the polished version, assuming that that is possible, which I believe it is. Hopefully you can see this. So here's Swapping Stories, and if you couldn't see it, my apologies. But Swapping Stories, that's Grandma and Gramps with me. You can see in the image for my show art, and it was about Swapping Stories. So I'm going to go and stop this and go, let me chat you up for a minute. So I got about 7 minutes left. I don't know how I blew 23 minutes. They go so fast. They go so fast. They go so fast. so fast. However, when you first start out, you're going to be pouring your heart in. If you do start with your origin story, warts and all, it's going to freak you out. Like putting you out there, you're going to feel super vulnerable. When I talk about mine, I am super duper vulnerable because people know that, okay, dude's got 160 grand in debt. Ooh, poor kid. And then they've seen my face and they're like, oh, poor kid. And then on top of it, I'm sharing what works for me, what's important to me, what my goals are, what my plans are, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really important that you keep this in mind. Keep it in perspective. Give it context. When you're first starting out, you're not going to have a gargantuan audience. Don't look to the numbers for inspiration. That is not where it's going to come from. The reason that I'm going to be here again tomorrow at 8:30 till 9, and then back next Monday through Thursday, and then I'm going to do better tomorrow, and I'm going to learn from these first Monday through Thursday of this week to prepare for next Monday through Thursdays live broadcast to get better at what I do. I'm going to put more of a format in, I guess. Whatever you want, the idea is that I'm doing this for you. My point is, by helping as many people as possible, I'm going to get what I want, which is to grow my business, to, fortify my business for the long term. This is not something like, I'm doing this part-time to try and find something else to do. This is something that I do. This is me. This is my life work. This is something I've spent 7 years on. So don't hope that the numbers, like the number of podcast downloads, the number of visitors to your site, the number of email subscribers. I got 3. Me, and then the last 2 days, I got 1 subscriber each day. So now I have tripled up to 3. So there are 3 people, well, 2, not counting me, that I will be sending my initial email by this Sunday, by midnight of this Sunday, to be in their email inbox first thing Monday morning to start off next week. So 3. And that's after a lot of time and a lot of effort. I got the site set up. I got the funnels. I had to learn about the funnels. I learned a ton from Mainframe, Chris Garrett, Tony Clark, Rainmaker.fm. Fantastically helpful. But my point is, there's a lot of work that goes in. When people in the future may say, oh, Jason Hobbs, overnight success. No, they will be completely wrong, because it's not even close to that. It's years and years and years and years of no one at all, buying in, no one else. It was all internal for me, that I'm going to keep going. I'm going to figure out what I need to do. And then once I figured out what to do, now I'm doing it, the audience, building an audience, but I'm starting with no audience, just like you may very well be doing. And if you already have some audience, but you haven't really been, organized with how you're growing the community and all that, I can totally help. But understand that even if you do have some audience, there's going to be a period where once you get things moving in the proper direction, you're doing everything exactly the way that you should, and that your heart is in it, and you are spilling blood all over the place, and not in a bad way or whatever, in a good way. Like, you're putting yourself out there. You don't expect the numbers to motivate you. If you are externally motivated, you're going to want to figure out ways to get around that, because it's going to take internal motivation in order to get to where you want to go. An example being me, but I'm at the very beginning. I have no audience, and I'm doing what I have to do right now in hopes of payment in the future, right? I'm not making money off of this podcast because I don't have any sponsors or anything else. What I'm doing is, the only thing that I'm looking at from it is to help people, to build my audience of people that I've helped. Because I know that from those, if I help enough of them, some of them are going to want to be part of my actual community. And so I can help them more, hopefully. And then some of them are going to want to become a customer. And then some of them will want to become repeat customers, and so forth. The whole time, though, I'm just trying to give to each of these, as they move through this life cycle, so to speak. Then, they're starting out as an infant, then they have to grow to a toddler, and then they have to grow, and then they get into school, and they teenager and tween or teenager, and then, they're out and they're 20 something and 30, you know what I mean? It's the same. It's a long-term relationship with me and my customers. And that doesn't start over, out of the blue, right? So don't hope that the numbers will motivate you, because they won't. You and your goal that's important to you, that's what's going to motivate you. And I'm recording this for me as much as anyone else, because there's 0 viewers right now. So it is time to wrap up the 3rd show, the 3rd live broadcast. And I am super excited. I don't have any reason to be, but it's internal, because I know where I'm going. I know how I'm going to get there, and I know what's on the other side of getting there. I never said it would be easy. I never said that I wanted it to be easy. I only care that it is worth it. Because if it's worth it, that's what it's about, right? So I'll see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. If you know a friend and you don't like them, send them over. You know, hey, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. They may figure it out, they may not. So thank you for spending a couple of minutes with me. I'm sure you just scrubbed through the video and decided to watch the end. So I thank you for that. And I'll see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Let's swap a few stories. I'm Jason Hobbs. I'm your host.